We're dinking around with Eddie and Webby. Dinking around with Eddie and Webby tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hey, how's it going? This is Webby, not Eddie.
And I'm Eddie, and this is our 80th Dinking Around.
Oh, yeah, milestone episode number 80. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it. And was that a little bit of a baseball reference you had there for your intro?
It was, and if you're not aware, the Tigers did the amazing and the unbelievable, and they're actually in playoff contention. By the time this episode airs, we will know if the Detroit Tigers made it into the playoffs. All they got to do is win, I think, at least one or two of their next three games, and they'll do it. So hopefully we can be saying congratulations, Tigers, by the time that this airs, but you never know.
Well, that'll be awesome. I'll have to watch some baseball. I haven't watched much baseball this year, but the Tigers are getting this deep into it. I just might, Webby.
Yeah, it's funny because in August, the statistics said that they had like a 0.2 chance of making it into the playoffs. And then right now, I think they're like in the upper 80s, maybe low 90 percentile of making it.
That's awesome. Well, you know what else is a 0.2% chance of? And that is me playing with a crappy paddle on the pickleball courts, which is exactly why I like to play with Valair, my Mach 1 16 millimeter. It's the paddle I've been using since before we even had a partnership with them. I love it. It's a perfect blend of power, touch, and spin. It suits my game very well. I love it to bits. Webby, what have you been playing with lately?
I have been playing with and absolutely loving the Mach 2 Forza. The 16 millimeter has amazing control, great touch, really good spin, and a big sweet spot. I absolutely love it.
Well, guys, if you want to get a paddle that you will absolutely love, go to Valair.com and use coupon code PB for life to get what, Webby?
You'll get yourself 10% off your order and show us some support in the process.
That's right, Valair.com, coupon code PB for life. And while you guys are out there doing that, I gotta know, Webby, what in the world is in that drink? What you got in that drink?
That's right. What in the world is in that drink? And Eddie, it's been a while since I asked you this, but what will you be sipping on tonight?
Well, I haven't had a chance to replenish my refrigerator with any beverages, but I always seem to have spiked hard seltzer from our good friends over at Fort Myers Brewing Company. So today I will be drinking their pineapple flavor. I've drank it before on the show. I love it. One of the things I love most about Fort Myers Brewing Company's spiked hard seltzers is it's 0 carbs, 0 sugar, 90 calories, and it tastes amazing. So that's what I'm going to be sipping on today. But Webby, what are you going to be sipping on?
Well, I will actually be sipping on something very similar, and my drink of choice actually goes along with my shout out for the week. And last night I took part in something super, super fun at Wolverine Pickleball. They're doing what's called the Smirnoff Smash Takeover. So Smirnoff, the alcohol company, they took over Wolverine Pickleball for a few hours last night. They're going to do it again tonight. And it was super, super cool. They're having a really high-level mixed doubles tournament going on. And I was there as a spectator, and anybody that registered to be a spectator, they got to get free food from the food truck. They got to spectate high-level pickleball, and they were giving free samples of their new Smirnoff Smash drink. And I'm actually going to do something a little different. I'm going to have you choose which flavor I drink. There's 4 different flavors to choose from. We've got strawberry dragon fruit. We've got pineapple orange. We have raspberry peach. And last but not least, we have watermelon lime. So are there any flavors that stand out to you that you think I should drink tonight?
Well, if I was going to reach into a cooler and see all 4 of those, I would go for the strawberry dragon fruit. So why don't we go for that one?
Nice. And I had that last night, and that was my favorite of the ones I had. I didn't have all 4 of them yet, but all the ones I did have, I enjoyed thoroughly. But it's very cool. It's awesome that Smirnoff is getting involved in pickleball. From what I understand, they're going to be doing that across the country, like taking over different facilities for special events. So
nice.
Cheers, Eddie. Glad to have you back.
Cheers, man. Thank you. And thanks for covering for me for the last few weeks while I was out.
And a big thank you to Tropical and Steve Peranto for filling in for Eddie the last couple of weeks. They had very big shoes to fill, but it was very fun.
Very fun indeed. But I'm happy to be back. And I'm also happy that it's time for
Memes of the Week.
That's right. It's Memes of the Week, the hottest segment in all of pickleball podcasts out there. Guys, we've had some incredible memes on this, and I'm so happy that more meme creators are coming into the pickleball space. And Webby, I got to know, what is your meme this week?
Well, my meme this week comes from our good friends over at Different Pickleball, and this one is called "You Are a Flake."
Here we have someone who bailed on a game 2 hours before and didn't offer to find themselves a sub. So very thoughtful, yep. You can take one photo and move on. Here we have a banger who gets mad every time they hit the net.
Oh man, I can totally relate to that so many times when I am playing pickleball with the group. At the very last minute, somebody will say, "Oh, sorry guys, can't make it." And then, did they ask for somebody to fill in for them, knowing they weren't going to be able to make it? Nope, they left it up to everybody else that was going to play. And it's especially bad, like if you just have a foursome. If you have a foursome and then one of them bails, like your time is ruined pretty much. And I absolutely hate it. So if any of you out there are flakes, do not be a flake.
Don't do it. And I agree with you, Webby. I hate it too, which is why anytime that we arrange for pickleball, which I usually let other people do, I usually push for a fifth because this situation can easily happen.
Yeah, I would much rather have an extra person and then just rotate to where one person sits while the rest of them play and then just rotate in and out and stuff like that. I would much rather have that situation, and then worst case scenario, one person bails, then you got your foursome and nobody sits. So yeah, I totally agree with you there. But what about you, Eddie? What kind of memes you got today?
Well, I got a good one. And big surprise, it's once again from our friends over at Memes of Pickleball. And to kind of set the stage here, so this is from the matches going on at MLP Virginia Beach, which will have just ended by the time that this episode airs. You got Michael Lloyd filling in for John Sincola on this match between the Frisco Pandas and the California Black Bears. And this one is, we just had a pickleball video game glitch in real life. Point. I definitely think that the sound effects really helped sell that one there. But there was Michael Lloyd, the star of Phoenix, Arizona, formerly from Phoenix, Arizona. In fact, I know he recently moved, filling in for John Sincola. Had a little bit of a situation there with an overhead. Has that ever happened to you, Webby?
Not quite to that extreme, but I definitely agree that the addition of those sound effects, that was amazing. So good.
I love it. Once again, Memes of Pickleball, just crushing it out there. Again, that was from MLP Virginia Beach. That will have just ended by the time that this airs, which was a pretty cool venue. Got to be there to help set up, but I flew out before everything started, and I let Kyle and the Close Call crew run with things for the rest of that event. But cool venue, man.
Yeah, that's very cool. And I love the fact that you and Kyle and Close Call Replay have been able to go around the country with PPA and Major League Pickleball. So how has that been? You haven't been here the last couple episodes because you've been busy doing that. How has the experience been so far?
I mean, it's been really good. It's been a lot of work, a lot of craziness. I was on the road for 18 days, started off in Oklahoma where our production trailer was, brought it to Atlanta where we did PPA Atlanta. In Atlanta, I'm sure anybody that watched knew that we went indoors for a little bit, came outdoors. It was a little bit chaotic trying to get that figured out, but ultimately I'm glad that we were able to get some good matches in. The rain just kept coming and going, and that which obviously adds a lot of complications, but that went pretty well. Then we had MLP New York City, which was right in the heart of Central Park. Webby, have you ever spent time in New York City before?
No, I have never been there. I'm going to be going there with my family in about a month or two, but that'll be my first time ever going to New York.
I honestly thought I was going to hate it. I'm not a big city kind of guy, so for me, I was kind of not dreading it, but I was preparing myself to not really enjoy the experience. But I got to say, I thoroughly loved it. I thought Manhattan was a really cool place, and I think that Central Park is amazing. I didn't know what to expect with Central Park. I thought it was going to just feel very like a fake park inside of a city. Central Park is freaking cool. You literally cross the block from where the city is into Central Park, and it's like immediately the chaos just goes away, and it's very chill. There's dogs running around everywhere, people running around, taking pictures, having fun. It was a cool experience. And then to have an actual Major League Pickleball event right there in Central Park, like there was nothing like it. There was a lot of complications, as I'm sure you can imagine, with trying to get equipment in there and loading in late at night, 36 hours before the event starts. Like, there was a lot that was challenging with doing the event there, but I think it was totally worth it. Did that come through at all in the broadcast?
It looked awesome. I loved when they had the shots of the city skyline in the background. And yeah, what I saw, it looked very, very impressive. I thought that was a very cool venue.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Everything's been going great with Close Call Replay. We still have yet to have a challenge that we weren't able to give a definitive, video evidence result to a referee to be able to make the call. As I'm sure you saw, UPA announced the 25% rule kind of coincidentally as soon as Close Call Replay started to be able to come into the effect. And are you familiar with the 25% rule?
Vaguely, I saw people doing some posts about it during that event, and people were complaining about it, but I don't know like the specifics about it. I don't know if you know enough to fill us in about that.
Yeah. So basically, the UPA is trying to experiment with things, which I love. And one of the things that they're trying to experiment with is when a ball is out versus in. And really what they're trying to do is just to be able to get it to where the pros are going to be playing more balls and making sure that if they call it out, they are 100% confident that the ball is out. So what they've been experimenting with is saying that if 25% of the ball or more is on the line, then that ball is considered in. So you can have 75% of the ball outside of the line, 25% over the line, and that ball is going to be considered in. And I don't necessarily love that rule personally. I think that is not taking into consideration the fact that we don't really know how much the pickleball compresses on the ground, but I'm pretty confident that 50% of it doesn't compress. So I understand the intention, and I like the fact that pros are being much more careful and deliberate with calling their balls out. But I think that this rule is making it to where balls that we can obviously see with our technology are out, the referees are having to call them in. And I do want to clarify, this is not a close call replay rule. I know some of the commentators have been calling it the close call replay rule. It's not. Our job is not to make rules from close call replay. Our job is to be unbiased professionals that are catching the moments that the events are happening on the pickleball court and sending them over to the referees in order to be able to make sure that they make the call. So I want to be clear on that. I don't know, Webby, based on what you saw, did you feel like there was some kind of gray area where people could think that it was close call replay that put that rule into place?
Oh, for sure. In fact, I was at a tournament last weekend with my daughter, and somebody came up to me that knows that like you and I are associated with close call replay, and they were like, "Man, what's up with that rule with the 75% thing?" And I told them like that is strictly a PPA thing that has nothing to do with close call replay, and the refs just have to go by the rule that is in place by PPA. So people definitely do associate that with close call replay, unfortunately, at the moment. So hopefully that'll go away soon, that misconception.
Yeah, I hope so. And like I said, I do like what UPA is doing to try and encourage pros to play more balls. But honestly, and this is something that Kyle Selinko, my partner in Close Call Replay, him and I have talked about. And ultimately, I think he thinks, and a lot of people do, that instead of changing when a ball is in or out, just make the penalties more harsher for making bad calls. So one idea that I've had, Webby, and I'd love to know your take on this, even though we're not at topics of the week, this is good conversation.
Oh yeah.
What if we went back to really looking, if a ball is in or out based on how much of it is compressing, or using some sort of like 2/3 rule like we had before, and instead of, and basically going with that rule, just make the penalties harsher where, let's say I call a ball out and it's overturned one time, I lose a timeout. But let's say later in that match, I call a ball out for the second time that's overturned and confirmed it's in. Now, instead of losing a timeout, I lose a point. Okay, let's say that happens a third time. Well, now I lose a game. And let's say that happens a fourth time. Now I lose the match. It seems like it might be harsh, but at the end of the day, what are your thoughts on that as far as the thing that's going to encourage pros to get the call right?
I absolutely agree that that should be what is done. I do think people will think it's kind of harsh, but I think something like that is what it would take to get people to finally like really know, like, okay, if I better be pretty good with my line calls, otherwise some pretty strict penalties could happen. And I do think that's the perfect way to do it. Maybe not perfect, but I do think that's a really, really good way to do it.
Do you think that's too harsh? Do you have a different recommendation of what the penalty should be, or do you think that that's a good way to look at it?
I personally don't think it's too harsh because if you're making 3 bad calls in one game, something's up. Like that, like I can see like everybody makes bad calls from time to time. So like one, like I have no problem with anybody making one bad line call just during a game because yeah, it happens. We're human. Sometimes we don't see it perfectly. 2, it gets a little dicey, but yeah, I can see like a second one maybe also being non-intentional, but I do think it's fine to uh, do the penalty where they will lose a point if they have 2 in the same game. And then beyond that, like at that point, I feel like it's not accidental. Like it's that's a sign of something wrong.
Well, we'd love to know your thoughts out there. Do you think that moving towards a little bit more of a harsher penalty is the way to go versus kind of messing with what we determine is in or out? Even though this wasn't a topic of the week, let us know down in the comments below. But Webby, I think it's time.
Now it's time for Topics of the Week.
That's right, Topics of the Week, where Eddie and I each bring a topic to discuss. So, Eddie, you've been gone for a couple episodes, so I would like to start with you. What kind of topic you got tonight?
Well, it's kind of similar to what I've been talking about a little bit here. Now with kind of launching the close call replay business and having a few events under our belts, I want to talk about referees. So when we're using our close call replay system at events, we actually have a broadcast trailer, and we have 1 or 2 referees in there at all times that are video review referees for different matches that are going on. For PPA, it's just 1 because we're only doing championship court right now. For MLP, it's 2 referees, 1 for championship court and 1 for grandstand. And their responsibility is to be able to make the call based on what we're providing to them. So we have spent a lot of time with these referees over these last few events. And Webby, I got to tell you, man, there are some pretty great people that are referees out there. I don't know if you have had a different experience, but just in general, what are your thoughts on pickleball referees?
In my personal experience, I have witnessed a lot of great people involved, especially when I helped do the close call replay stuff at Beer City Open. I got to see the pre-tournament meeting that they have together, and then you and I and Kyle, we got to bond with quite a few of those referees too, because when they sit in that booth with us, we're with them for hours a day. And we get to know more about them, and then we see how seriously they take it too. And that was really cool to see. And even when a referee, if they had like a question or if they doubted something, they would call another ref or one of the head refs, and they would come in, discuss it. So I know firsthand that they really have the best intentions in mind. They want to do the best possible job they can. So yeah, I definitely think there are a lot of really, really great people involved in such a thankless position.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it with thankless, right? If a referee gets the call right, I hate to say it, but nobody cares. They think that's their job and that's what they're supposed to do. But if a referee gets it wrong, that's when they get treated pretty unfairly. And I would say that most of the pros are pretty good to them, but there are some pros out there that are kind of jerks to some of these referees. And I don't like that. I don't appreciate it. I think that a lot of the referees are significantly underpaid, underappreciated, and it's just a little bit out of balance where I feel like a lot of the money is going in some of these events. Right now, I feel like referees are happy if just their expenses are getting covered by what they're making as referees, right? And I think that was okay for a long time, but are we at a different point now? Is the professional game at the point to where now some of these referees should be able to treat this as an actual career? And I'm not talking about all. I'm talking about the best of the best who want to referee these professional matches. Do you think we should be at that point right now when you have players making millions of dollars over a few years and you have the referees that are still doing it because of the love and the passion for the game, but really can't make a career out of it? Are we at the point to where that needs to kind of come into balance?
I think we are, because there definitely are some refs that are by far like head of the pack as far as how good they are at their job.
Yeah.
And I feel like if there was good incentive for somebody to be able to make a better living being a referee, that might encourage others to reach that level also. But right now, without that, like, why would somebody really focus and dedicate tons of time to really mastering that craft? So I do think that should be taken seriously. It should be a position that can earn a good living, especially to those that have proven that they do a good job. So yeah, I definitely think that should be something to take into consideration.
Yeah, I definitely. It seems like there's got to be a balance, right? The fact of the matter is that if you have been a referee up to this point, you've stuck with it. Obviously, you've done it because you love the game, you love the sport, you love officiating, and I don't want us to ever lose that. So it's finding that balance between making sure that people are still doing it mostly because of their love for the game, but then also on top of it, being able to know that they're taken care of and they can continue to master their craft. I think I'm 100% on board with you with that. But the underappreciated part is something I want to touch on too, right? These people are out there working their butts off, standing, sweating, right? They're in the sun for an hour, hour and a half at a time. I remember that match at Beer City Open, Webby, that went like, what was it, 40-38, I think it was, on Grandstand Court.
Yeah.
I mean, the referees were out there in the sun for, I don't know, going on 2+ hours. Like, that's a lot. And that takes a lot of dedication, a lot of determination too. And so when I see a referee get talked down upon or treated poorly, I just think about how unfair that is. And you know, the next time maybe you have somebody officiating your match or you see a referee out there, maybe just say thank you. Thank you for what they do. Could there be some bad apples out there? Absolutely. But do I believe that the overwhelmingly vast majority of referees are doing it because they love this sport? Absolutely. And I'm sure that a thank you, even a little thank you, would go a very long way with them.
Oh, for sure. And one thing you mentioned, like the fact that they are standing there for that long of a time. I don't know about you, but I absolutely hate just standing in one spot for long periods of time. I could easily play pickleball for 2 or 3 hours straight without taking a break. I might be sore for a couple days, but I will gladly do it. But if I have to stand in one position for a day, I used to do video production regularly to where I would be standing in the same position for a very long period of time. It'd be like a 12-hour day, and most of my job was to stand at a tripod behind the camera, and that just, it wrecked my back. Standing that still, like, it just it was like it's like the blood flow doesn't get going good because you're just standing still for so long. And I would much rather be active for 2 hours than stand still for 2 hours. So
Yep.
that's another thing that I think people don't really appreciate when it comes to what the refs do.
Absolutely. Standing there, keeping their cool, keeping focus on the game, all the hundreds of things that they need to be watching for. It's incredible. So big thank you to all the referees out there. Guys, let us know your comments down below. Do you think that referees are underpaid, underappreciated? Do you think we should pay them more? Do you think if they got paid more, we would potentially lose the motivation that is pure and based on their love of pickleball? Those are our opinions. We would also like to know yours as well. And Webby, I want to know, what is your topic this week?
So mine is a little bit more lighthearted. It's kind of a fun one, but I think it's going to be interesting to talk about as well. And I'm not sure if you heard about this, but it was recently announced that there's going to be a new major motion picture coming out where Ben Stiller plays a role, and it is about pickleball, and it's called The Dink. So I think that's very cool news. This should be a lot of fun, but it got me thinking, up to this point in time, how has the mainstream media's depiction of pickleball been up to this point? Has it been good for the sport? Has it been bad for the sport? Because I feel like a lot of times when it's in mainstream media, people kind of make fun of pickleball. And I'm just wondering, up to this point, like when it comes to like the news footage that shows pickleball or TV shows that show pickleball, do you think it has helped the sport? Or in some ways, do you think it has possibly hurt the sport of pickleball?
I think it's done both. I personally think it's done more help than hurt overall. But what is the news trying to do these days, right? They're treating news like entertainment. And what are the most entertaining stories? They're the ones that are full of drama. So a lot of what you hear on the news when it comes to pickleball is, pickleballers are too loud and noisy and are causing residents nearby to have strokes. Pickleballs and tennis players feuding over court space. Pickleball, it's the sport that brings most senior citizens to the hospital. Like all of these kind of just like catchy taglines that you can throw on there that will help people kind of gain an opinion of pickleball. So I think from that perspective, it can be harmful. At the same point, the other part of me is thinking, well, any news is good news. Any media coverage is good media coverage. And for those that might hear that story and a month, 2 down the road, be driving by a pickleball court and being like, oh, we should go check it out. And then they go out there and they hit the ball and they get hooked like 99% of everybody that plays pickleball for the first time does.
Yep.
I think that can be positive for the sport. So that's kind of my general idea based on your question there.
Yeah, and I do feel like when it comes to TV shows and movies, when there's references about pickleball, for the most part, I think that's a good thing. It's usually done from a good perspective. However, I feel like you can tell when it's forced. Like some people, they're like, you know what, pickleball's a hot thing right now. Let's do a pickleball reference in this TV show or movie, and you can tell if they're actually pickleball players or not the way they do it. And there's a lot of commercials out there that will include pickleball, like a lot of like prescription drug commercials and stuff like that. And you can tell the person who was involved in making that commercial does not play pickleball because just the way that the players interact or the way they're hitting certain shots and stuff like that. So I definitely think there's times where it can help, but there's definitely times where it has hurt pickleball in regards to the Hollywood and mainstream media. And when it comes to news, overall, I feel like anything that the news has done has hurt the sport. And the reason I say that is it's oftentimes, like you said, either like a really negative story, but even when they're trying to have a positive story, like Good Morning America, when they feature pickleball, it's always they're teaching somebody brand new or somebody that's never played the sport, but they only have like 2 minutes to work with to do it. You can't do that in a good way. So if they play a game where 2 people have never played against 2 people that have played, it's going to be like absolutely horrible volleys. And then that's going to make the sport look kind of stupid because like, oh, look at like, this is just ridiculous. This is like the ball doesn't go over the net more than 2 times before going out of bounds or into the net or something like that. And that's because they have like really bad people showing off the sport. So when it comes to news, I think it's not been good up to this point. There've been a couple times where maybe they got it right and they actually had people that knew how to play demonstrating everything. But I feel like anytime national news has covered it, they do not give enough attention to it, or they don't devote enough time for the segment to be able to really show off what pickleball is all about. But overall, I think it's a good thing. I love when there's pickleball references. Even if it's making fun of pickleball, it's still usually all in good fun. But I definitely want to know what you guys think. Do you think the mainstream media portrayal of pickleball for the most part has been good or not so good?
Well, one more thing when you were talking about commercials too. I was watching some coverage today of the hurricane, and like a commercial for Skyrizi came on, which is a new medication. And I'm like, what? First of all, where the heck did that name come from? That sounds like a rapper, right? Like a
Yeah.
Okay, Skyrizi. But anyway, that's one example, right? But then there's also the example of literally pickleball specific brands like sock brands and other sunglasses brands, and they hire these models or athletes to come, and you can tell that they've never played pickleball ever in their entire life. And so that it frustrates me a little bit when I see them on commercials that they're just trying to show pickleball from like a lifestyle perspective. But it frustrates me even more when you see it when it's an actual pickleball brand. It's like you couldn't hire people that actually know how to play pickleball.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, it's a big pet peeve of mine. And then also a lot of those commercials that feature pickleball, like they'll have all the players go to the net and like give each other high fives and stuff like that. And sometimes that happens, but everybody knows it's a paddle tap that we do after the game, not high fives and handshakes and stuff like that.
Right. I'm with you. Well, those are our opinions, as Webby said, but we want to know yours because this is meant to be interactive. And I got to tell you, Webby, I'm really impressed with how many people have been sharing their opinions with us on some of our topics down in the comments. It's it's led to some really good discussions. And actually, I've learned a little bit about what people out there are thinking.
Yeah, and keep them coming. Keep the comments coming. Keep the emails coming, because we've actually got a couple future guests lined up because of emails that we've received from people that think that they have an interesting topic or a guest that they think could be good. So keep them coming. You never know. You might be able to join us on a future episode.
That's right. But Webby, before we move on, I got to ask you a question. When you go out on the pickleball court, do you like to feel bad or do you like to feel good?
I do not like to feel bad. I love to feel good. In fact, it's fun to feel good.
That's right. You know who else agrees with that? Our friends over at Jigsaw Health. They have a lot of products to keep you feeling good. At Jigsaw Health, it's fun to feel good. And Webby, how do you like to stay hydrated when you're playing pickleball or even when you're just not playing pickleball?
Well, I will get some Fruit Punch Electrolyte Supreme, pour it into a bottle of water. I will drink that when I first start playing. If I get super, super hot and sweaty, which is pretty much a guarantee, I will drink another bottle towards the end of my playing session or when I'm done playing. And that has helped drastically because I sweat like crazy. I have had dehydration issues in the past. Ever since I started drinking Jigsaw Health regularly, I have not had issues.
Well, their pickleball cocktail, Blue Raspberry, is my favorite flavor. I love to be able to have that when I want to stay hydrated, but they have a ton of other products that I take on a daily basis as well. And you guys can by going to jigsawhealth.com. And even better, if you want to use coupon code PB for Life 10, you're going to get what, Webby?
You're going to get yourself 10% off your order, and you're going to show us some support, which we are very appreciative of.
That's right. We love the support from you. But Jigsaw Health, they're obsessed with pickleball, so much so that they created an indoor pickleball venue called the Orchard at Jigsaw Health. So much so that they created a professional league, the Arizona Pickleball League. So much so that they created a freaking documentary available on Amazon Prime Video about that league called Breaking Pickleball that you guys should go check out. So you're not only supporting us, as Webby said, you're also supporting a brand and people, good people that are obsessed with pickleball just like we are. So again, jigsawhealth.com, coupon code PB for Life 10. You're going to love their products because at Jigsaw Health, it's fun to feel good.
That's right. I thought this was a great episode. I'm glad you're back, Eddie. It was not the same without you, but we can't end the episode without finding out your
Closing thoughts.
So what did we learn today? Well, we learned that maybe you shouldn't flake out on pickleball because it's going to make it real inconvenient for the others in your group. We learned that sometimes glitches happen in real life, like with Michael Lloyd playing in MLP Virginia Beach. I talked a little bit about my experience with close call replay and the new UPA 25% rule, not close call replay 25% rule, UPA's 25% rule. We talked about pickleball referees and how amazing they are and maybe how underappreciated they are. And we talked about news and media coverage of pickleball. Is it good for the sport? Is it bad for the sport? But that's going to do it for us today. This was episode number 80 of Dinking Around with Eddie and Webby. I can't believe we're 80 episodes into Dinking Around. Webby, we got to have the most podcast episodes regarding pickleball out there at this point. Is that true? Can we validate that?
I really think we do, because if we combine both the podcasts we've done and include just the pickle, I think we're over 200 right now. So I can't imagine there's many others, if any others, that have more than that.
I don't know. We'll have to see. We appreciate it. If you're watching this on YouTube, please feel free to like this video and subscribe. If you are listening to this, do whatever you got to do to keep listening, and we appreciate it. And on that note, I'm Eddie.
And until next time, this is Webby, not Eddie, signing off.
See ya.
Go Tigers.
Well, we're dinking around with Eddie and Webby. Dinking around with Eddie and Webby tonight.
Oh yeah.